identifying your problems. We're going to get started now until we'll pass 5:30. Throughout this workshop, please feel free, if you want more pizza or drinks, please get up and go help yourself. So I want to introduce myself. I recognize a lot of you, but I also don't know a lot of you. So my name is Holly Butler. I'm the director of the DifferenceMaker program. We actually have a guest speaker here with us tonight, Nancy Saucier, who will be speaking for about an hour or so, doing some fun activities with you all. And she is the director of new venture development here at UMass Lowell. So she knows a lot about starting companies and can help you in that area. So, brief agenda for the night, 5:30ish to 7:30ish. Introduction, we'll start with the problems you want to solve. We'll share your ideas, we'll talk about team building, so how many of you have teams, how many of you are looking for additional team members, or maybe some of you actually came here wanting to join teams, so maybe you don't even have an idea yet, but you're looking to join teams. We'll talk more about what makes a good problem. So you might think that you have your problem identified, but you really need to have that clearly identified so that you know how to go about solving that problem, so you can figure out the opportunities for that. And we'll work this through the entire workshop series. We'll do some activities, and then we'll have discussions, question and answer, and anything else you guys would be interested in talking about. And for you guys who are kind of sideways, if you want to turn your chair around, that's completely fine. If you're not comfortable, please get comfortable. So we received about 50 applications this semester. All 6 colleges applied, different products, services, a very broad variety of ideas and projects. And just so all of you know, so the workshop series, I believe there's 4 or 5 workshops. We'll do some advising, rocket pitch coaching, and then your idea plan and your rocket pitch is due on February 29th. And that's actually on the back of the postcard you guys got. So this workshop series is meant to help you prepare to actually submit your rocket pitch and submit your idea plan. And if for some reason you can't make it to these workshops, we upload all of the materials, usually within 48 hours, online under a resource page. So if for some reason you have class, you can't make it, you have to sneak out early for some reason, that's okay. We upload everything on a resource page online. And like I mentioned, these workshops are really meant to help you submit your idea plan, which is then stored, and that will define whether or not you make it as a semi-finalist in the preliminary pitch off. Well, like I said, we'll talk all about that process. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So there's about 10 weeks until the 13th, which is the idea challenge. $35,000. The preliminary pitch off is on the 1st. So within this time frame, you're going to be working on building your team. So like I mentioned, if you don't have a team, if you want to find a team, if you need certain teammates with specific skill sets, you should be working on building up that team. You should also try to attend our workshop series or look online. And then the toolkit packet, which you guys all received coming in today, it's a couple of sheets. This is another resource for you all to help prepare you to actually build your idea plan and to actually pitch in front of the judges. So these are key questions that you should be able to answer by the end of this process. So today we're just focusing on the first sheet, which is defining your problem. So we pass out the whole thing so that you can see kind of the next steps, what's coming, but just focus on identifying your problem today. Don't look at the rest, you'll get overwhelmed, or you might feel like you have to fill it all out, which you shouldn't be able to do at this point in time. This is something that you'll do over the weeks when you do more research, talk to customers, and so on. So like I had mentioned before, idea plan rocket pitch due the 29th. After that, you'll have the chance to submit a poster that will be showcased at the events. And then obviously, impressing the judges is key to this whole process. And here is where I pass it off to Nancy. So thank you all.
I'll pass it back to Holly a little bit later. I don't really want to stand behind the podium. I want this to be pretty interactive, so I'm going to walk away. Can you all hear me okay? Because I know that there's that buzz back there. Yes, back of the room. Guy, looking out the other way. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Okay, so we're going to start with what's an idea plan. So this is a top line idea of, when you go in to do your pitch, really what is it that the judges want to hear about and that you need to definitely highlight. You've got the problem, which is what we're going to work on tonight. You need to think about the opportunity. How big is the problem that you're trying to address? And most of you who came in with an idea probably already have a solution in mind. So we can talk a little bit about that as well. In fact, you're all going to talk about it quite a bit. I'm not going to lecture for an hour, contrary to what Holly said. I'm going to make you do things for an hour so that you learn from one another. And then finally, what resources do you need in order to start addressing that problem? Do you need to build out a solution? Do you need to grab additional team members? How much time is it going to take you to address the problem that you're going to present as part of your idea plan? You need to keep in mind the problem, the solution, the resources you need, and the opportunity. All of these should be research-based. So your research can be, give me a couple different kinds of ways you can do research. Anybody? Google. All right. Is that primary or secondary research? Secondary research. That's right. Give me some more.
Focus groups.
Focus groups. Is that primary or secondary research? Primary research. That's right. You each get prizes. I'm giving away prizes for those who participate, so congratulations. And Holly's going to help hand those out. Give me some other ways you can get information, other ways you can collect research. Go ahead. Yep, you can use databases, right? Somebody's already done the work for you, right? If they know there's a problem, maybe they wrote a paper about the problem. Right? So yes, believe it or not, your library is still a useful tool. Anybody else? Surveys, another great way to do that. Exactly, great. Perfect. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. You don't have to know how to do surveys. You don't have to know how to do research. You can, although frankly, you're all great with bowling logic on Google, and Google's really smart at this point, so it can get you a lot of answers. But so tonight we're only going to focus on the problem. But I guess my bigger question is, who came here with an idea of what they were going to work on as part of the idea challenge? Higher. Oh my goodness, there's tons of you. All right, so do you want to start distributing big posters? So those of you who had an idea that you want to work on, we're going to start distributing some poster boards and some writing utensils, I guess. And you're going to start writing those out, okay? Because that's activity number one. So, hands up. Oh, there's so many of you. It's going to be hard to grab actually. I was thinking we were going to have 4 or 5 people that came with ideas. That's great, actually. So I'm going to give you just a quick idea while they're handing those out as to what an idea plan example kind of is. So this was a student team from 2014, maybe 13 or 14. Okay, and they actually had a very scientific solution for how they were going to solve a critical problem. So take a quick look at that, and I'm going to ask somebody to tell me what problem were they trying to solve here? I know it's a lot of reading here. I'm sorry, I'm standing in the way. So this was the end game, right? They used some key research. They used some first-hand experience that they had in Haiti to identify a problem. Can somebody tell me what the top line problem that they're trying to address is here? Go ahead.
Clean drinking water.
Clean drinking water where?
In Haiti.
All right, so in Haiti or there's third world countries, right? So that's right? That's the top line problem that they're trying to address. And so this is the solution that they came up with, right? It's as long as the problem. And then this doesn't pop up right. But as part of their idea plan, they also came up with a nice budget of how they were going to build these bio bubblers and implement them in Haiti specifically. But what's key here is when you're trying to determine what the problem is, is the problem localized? It's only in Haiti? Is it bigger than that? Is it only in the Caribbean? Or is it a worldwide problem? And as they did more and more research, they discovered, although I experienced this in Haiti, it's a larger problem. So they worked to actually quantify that problem using really secondary research, right? As opposed to primary research. What was their primary research? I can back up just a little bit. There's some primary research that's been articulated here. Yeah, first-hand experience, right? They were traveling in Haiti and they saw the problem. So how many of you have personally experienced your problem or really want the solution that you're going to present tonight? Go ahead.
I'm working on like a portable type incubator to warm IV fluids when you're infusing them with patients. A lot of nurses just use room temperature fluid because it's convenient and easy, and it's not technically really like harmful at all to the patient, but it is a lot more uncomfortable. The patients start shivering, they need lots of blankets, and they just are generally uncomfortable for the rest of their stay because you're pumping 70-degree water into a 98.6-degree humid. So
Did you have a personal experience with this?
yeah, I work at the hospital and we do clinicals for nursing, so I see it pretty much every
See
day.
it all the time. Great. That's great primary research, and it sounds like you've got a pretty good quantified problem. Who else? Who else had a personal experience? Who's got a personal problem that they want to share with the group? It's a counseling session. Come on.
So I finished, I did my schooling in South Africa. At the time when I did it, was only 2 official languages. Post-apartheid era, we now have 11 official languages. The experience I had in high school was somewhat traumatic because my mom, we grew up speaking Afrikaans at home, that was my native language. And she had the bright idea to put me into English schools, but omitted to teach me any English until I actually got into school. So I struggled with English all through primary school and high school. In fact, in high school, my second semester of the 9th grade, I failed the semester because I failed English. That was tough. And then you also had the peer pressure with everybody wanting you with your accent. Because in South Africa, if you speak Afrikaans as your native language, or English as your native language, you have distinctly different accents, people can tell. And when you're in an English school, you stick out like a sore thumb. So that has always been a pain point for me. And I've watched over the years as digital resources that have become available. People can now learn Italian and French and everything. Rosetta Stone, Pimsley, there's a whole bunch of tools. But none of them focus on these smaller areas, like the 11 languages in South Africa. There are no tools available for that sort of thing. So I'm looking at education products, and the first one I'm working on is a mobile app for vocabulary building and looking at the South African languages.
So are you looking at South Africa specifically, or do you think there could be applications in other regions where there are multiple dialects, for instance?
Great question.
All right, so that's part of your problem that you need to do some research.
So I started looking at South Africa simply because it's a market that I know, I grew up there. But then the way that we're designing the product is that the product is independent of the content, and my content is being accumulated in spreadsheets. So it's very easy for me to just import, compile an app, and ship it out to the store. So to answer the question, yes. It would be very easy to port it to other areas, other dialects, other regions. My biggest challenge at that point is assembling the words and getting a voice artist that's going to do recording. But other than that, it's
So it sounds to me like you have a pretty good quantified problem, a pretty good articulated solution, but I would actually encourage you to focus on the opportunity. If it's unique to South Africa, is that a big enough opportunity, or if there are other regions, that you can assist, and how many people have the problem, right, or struggle with that issue. So I would, as we go through some of these activities tonight, you and your team might really want to focus on thinking about size of the problem. You know,
Right.
is it just me, or is it hundreds of thousands of people that need this help? Because the bigger the problem, right, the more opportunity there is for your solution. Okay, so what makes a good problem? So we'll move on from the idea plan. The reality is you'll build that idea plan over the next 10 weeks. You don't have to know it all today. Right now, you're just going to address that top line. Here's the problem for tonight. So personal experience with a problem is a good place to start, okay? A problem that other people can understand. If you give an elevator pitch, if you're 2 sentences into explaining what your problem is and somebody's glazing over, you need to rethink how you're explaining that problem. Because if somebody else doesn't understand your problem or doesn't think that they also have that problem or can relate to that problem, they're not going to help you come up with your solution or help you succeed with your solution, right? So that's something to really keep in mind. A problem that elicits multiple perspectives, right? Something that you can, what's called ideate off of, right? If there's only one solution and that solution is already in the market, why are you trying to solve that problem, right? But if you find that you're addressing a problem that isn't being adequately solved by what's currently in the market, or a problem that has no solution in your mind, and I would caution you against no solution. There's always a solution. What's the ultimate solution to a problem? Anybody? Maybe I didn't articulate that quite right. So if somebody has a problem, they can do something about it, or they can do nothing, right? So that is always a potential solution, right? Is that they ignore the problem. So ideally, when you're trying to address a problem, you still have to evaluate doing nothing about the problem as being the solution. Okay? Sometimes it's too expensive to solve the problem, all right? Sometimes the problem isn't big enough. There's a lot of different reasons people do nothing about problems. It's not that it's not a problem. It's that it's not a problem worth solving. So I would keep that in the back of your mind. I don't want to discourage you. You all have great problems and you all have great solutions. But as you get further into this and you go, why aren't people, fixing the problem with clean water in third world countries? Particularly given that it's $20 to fix it for every 100 people, sometimes it's easier to do nothing than to fix the problem. Holly can talk to mapping to the different categories, but basically if you've got a problem, I'm sure that you can fit into one of these categories. And I believe campus-wide difference maker is the catch-all. So if you think, gee, it's not a technology solution, or a significant social impact, or a first to market tend to be consumer solutions, etc. You can always do it campus-wide difference maker. Am I correct? Okay. Are there any questions here on what makes a good problem? Have you all spent some time, those of you that raised your hands, starting to write down what your problem or your solution is on those papers? Because that's going to be the assignment. So here are a couple of teams who successfully articulated a problem, came up with a solution, quantified the opportunity, how big their problem was, and came up with great plans to move their ideas forward. Butler is the one that you saw the example of earlier. This is 3D printed dentures. And the primary problem there was, does anybody know? Anybody have a grandmother with dentures? What do they always complain about when it comes to healthcare and taking care of themselves? Expensive. Really expensive, right? And they're on what? Fixed incomes and right? And most of the time, you may not know this, but dentures fall outside of what's covered in healthcare, right? So people go without instead of having dentures. So they tried to solve that problem. Healthy Habits up in 2013 decided that they needed to teach healthier eating habits to high schoolers. So they set up an entire program and successfully delivered that program. Fresh Beats is a food truck that actually would incorporate music and artists into the food truck experience. Did they ever get that up and off?
So right now, Savannah's actually in Texas. They have a really big food truck industry there. So she's actually there working on food trucks to learn the business inside and out. So she'll be there until May. And then when she comes back, she'll be able to try to put something there in Lowell. But the whole idea behind that was she saw music, business, or music, food, and education, and nothing was intertwined together. So she thought, okay, I'm going to open up a food truck with a stage on the back that actually holds off, so musicians can go and play music as people eat, healthy food, and then she's a music teacher, so she believes that all students should be able to take music lessons. So she thought that students could actually work on the truck in a time exchange program, so the time they work on the truck, instead of getting paid, it would equal music lessons. So she's going to come back, but right now she's in Texas learning all about the food truck industry, the business of actually running a food truck, and then she'll come here and actually launch that.
Chrissy had a couple of food trucks on campus, or around campus. What do you like about it? The Egyptian cafe one, I haven't eaten there yet. There's another one over by me at Former Lansing. Yeah, yeah. And then there's a meaty guy that's around too. Yeah. It's a huge industry in urban markets, big growth market. And so she actually entered in the first mover, first to market category. All right, so this is activity number 1. For those of you who haven't already written it down, now is your opportunity to write down, because I already gave you the point, write down the problem, not your solution, that you're trying to solve. Okay? I'm going to give you just a quick couple of minutes for that. I don't have a watch, so I Everybody else, we're going to spread out and put these problems up so that others can read them, and then if you guys start to section off. For all you know, there may be people in this room that are trying to address a similar problem. So I would
we cut off the spot for their thumb, and we sent it down to them and disseminated it. There were still problems because these aren't very good. They're nice because they're cheap, but cheap. Yeah. They're easy.
And then when everyone gets their slide numbers looking around,
so you
maybe someone has a similar problem, maybe someone who's in technology says, hey, that's awesome. I'd like
All right, so who needs a team or needs somebody to work with still? Looks like the wall is paired up pretty aggressive. So I would actually encourage you all to walk around the room and read the problem statements. And I see a lot of great ones actually. I think we're going to vote on the best problem statement as opposed to have everyone talk about their problem statements, okay? Because we got a lot of problems here.
Okay, so you could go to a school where Arabic is the main.
Okay, now you're all going to kind of select around your favorite problem statement. That's not your own. Find one you really like, go stand next to it, star it, you know, make pretty pictures on it. You're picking favorites here.
Because their body is forced to work to warm it to body temperature.
Okay? I think that's a great problem statement. And we'll work on what we're going to do with the problem statements next. Okay, wait a minute. We have a whole crowd that coalesced over here. Does that coalesce over the same one? Or, okay. The one on the right. Who wants the one on the right? You? And who wants the one on the left? This one? Yes. Yeah, no. I'm trying to figure out how many of you, are you guys coalescing around this one?
We're here. 4?
Okay, 4 is the other top one. I'm sorry, are you coalescing on the back solution too? There's two of you. Is there anyone coalescing on this one? Couple of you. All right, so number 4 wins too. Somebody, whose problem is this?
Oh,
That's your problem that you stuck right here? Who wrote this? You wrote this problem? No. Who wrote the problem? You wrote the problem, he went through it. And then you can't reach, oh, wait a minute. You can't select your own problem. That's all right, you guys still have 3. Somebody else, please read the problem statement.
People who have overweight problems may want to control their weight by having a healthy eating habit, having healthy eating habits, but to have a personal coach is too expensive.
Okay, people who have an overweight problem may want to control their weight by having a healthy eating habits. That's the solution. But personal coaches are too expensive.
I think personal coaches.
So is,
I think the problem is that that's what they want and they can't get it because it's too expensive.
okay.
Yeah.
So is it healthy eating habits or is it personal coaching? What's the problem? What's the key problem?
Personal coach is too expensive.
Okay. That's a better articulated problem. Personal coaches are too expensive. How are you? So now I'm going to ask you a question. So now we're going to go to the next section. Well, we don't have to pick teams because you guys all have ideas. So we're going to skip that. And we're going to pick a couple more to have you break up in groups. But my next question to you is, how do you quantify that problem? Who uses personal trainers? Is it the poor? Is it the wealthy? Is it women? Who has your problems?
I think women is a major customer.
Women are the major customer. Okay, who agrees with that? Who uses a personal trainer in here? Anybody? No. So we can't quantify that. Who's had an IV? Did you all have a cold sensation? Who had a cold sensation? Everybody has a cold sensation. All right, that's not what I would call quantitative data, but it kind of validates your problem, right? Okay, so for tonight's purposes, all right, we're going to focus on these 2 problems and the problem in the back, and then I think there's a 3-person problem here, right?
we're 3.
I'm having a hard time to show. Gentlemen, who did you all select in this back corner? Are you all?
We were real late to this, so we haven't quite looked around.
Yeah, okay, so you haven't picked a problem, favorite problem.
For here.
Okay, so we're going to pick 4 problems. So the 2 that we articulated, just to go through this exercise, it doesn't mean you're stuck trying to solve this problem with the idea challenge. It'll just help you go through the next exercise, which is up on the board here. So we'll pick those 2 problems, and then who else wants to volunteer 2 more problems that they really want to work on?
No, all the way.
What is it? Go read it for me, please.
Public safety from active shooters and active assailants.
So what's the problem?
There's no security. All the security systems that are out are closed. So all the security systems that are out right now that are on the market are all after the fact. So after a gunshot goes off, then an alarm will go off. What I'm trying to do is actually make a system that works with everybody's phone inside the facility. So go towards the federal government mostly.
Okay, that's the solution. So what's the? I'm going to push you a little. What's the problem?
Here's the thing. Are you safe? Are you fully safe at work? Do you feel if someone came into your office, do you feel safe in your workspace?
So are you trying to increase my
Your safety.
personal sense of safety
Your personal sense of safety.
or my actual safety?
It will get your actual safety by getting the first response from what you hit the app.
Okay, so what's the problem? Is it that first responders respond?
The response time is 15 minutes because you have to take a personal phone call and actually human interaction by the police dispatcher, then they have to give out the information.
Okay,
But if you do it
so
now,
average first responder action is 15 minutes, which is too long.
which is too long because they've already been doing it.
or which increases mortality, is actually your problem. Is that actually your problem?
Well, the biggest problem is that right now the technology that's out, like there isn't advanced enough. So that's part of the problem we're trying to solve is the lack of technology that.
Everything's
So inadequate to address the technology to address first responders.
Yes.
But what, okay. Huh? I'm sorry?
Inadequate tools.
If you
So
use an application on the phone-
inadequate first
If-
responder tools or?
Yeah, no, it's just an application on the phone. So then it sends
No,
you.
no, that's your solution.
Okay,
We're not
yeah.
talking
I
solutions.
don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so but what problem are you trying to solve? You're trying to.
I'm trying to maintain public safety in the workspace and in any place I can.
Okay.
So if you went to work and someone, all the systems that are out now, you would have to be killed, or someone would actually have to see everything going on, and everything would be in dramatic chaos. So what I'm trying to do is I have a system coming up that is an app on your phone. You don't have to go touch a button, call someone, and draw attention to yourself to see you. This would be just an app on your phone acting like you're texting. And all you have to do is press a button, and it go off to a
Okay.
beacon.
So you're talking about your solution. We're going to put a group around you to really focus in on your problem. And that'll help, all right? So we're going to pick yours. Whoops, one more. Who wants to volunteer their problem is what we're going to work on tonight. We need at least one more. There's a water bottle in it for you guys. Who wants to volunteer their problem is what we work on tonight.
Well, my problem is basically going to look at the lack of resources for homeless people.
Lack of resources for homeless people.
Yes.
Okay, great. We got 4. So if you want to grab those, and we'll coalesce in around this table, this table, this table, and this table. And then we're going to do activity 2. So if everyone in the room could kind of select which one they're going to work on tonight. Again, it doesn't mean that that's what you have to do for your idea challenge. It simply will get you through working with the Difference Maker toolkit to answer some of the problem questions. And the reason we selected yours is because you guys are incredibly passionate about it, but we need you to refine your problem statement. So having more people in your team will help you do that, because you guys have already solved the problem, which is great, but you're solution focused and you need to define your problem better, okay? There's no wrong, it's okay, there's no wrong answer. I know I upset you a little. But having more people can help you better articulate what the problem is, okay? So go, break and go. So,
Yeah, there's like a bunch more of these though, right? You got some. Alright. Anybody think of a better way to articulate, or should it be broader or more specific?
Actually, there's one system that's out that hears gunshots or it'll hear loud screaming, and it'll set off an alarm, and that'll go to the first responders. But that's after the fact, so you would have to be sitting behind your desk and get shot, and you're already dead. So what's the point of that? There's no point of having something in a system that's already flawed because one of your employees would already have to be killed. Because no one walks into a building and just starts shooting up like all the movies. No one would ever just go in there, boom, 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 I'm here.
Right.
Alert the authorities.
team, get up and do a 1-minute pitch. It's a simple problem statement. It's commonly called an elevator pitch. Does anybody know why it's called an elevator pitch? That's my last question.
When you start okay. All students
There you go.
for problems you want to help people eating healthy eating habits. And so after the research found 2 exist solutions on the market. First one is you use a headset, and there is also a camera here.
Does anybody have any ideas of how we can narrow this idea down to like 5 words instead of like a 20 range? I like it. Anything else? Oh, maybe that's fine. Patient discomfort from cold.
Everyone has access to, or there's a button on the wall where you have to get up and actually have to go and press a button and say to set off alert someone.
Okay, so potentially the problem, and I'm just spitballing here. So potentially the problem is the time delay from an event from the event to the alert, for that matter, and then from the alert to the response. And so
It can't be the person who wrote the problem. It has to be somebody else. That goes to people understanding what the problem is. It's important. Alright. Stand up. Can we reward him or are we on rewards? Alright. Speakers get rewarded because I'm terrified to be up here talking to you guys.
Anyone who tries to leave
Alright, give us your name.
My name's Michael Doe.
Hi, Michael. Tell me what's your problem.
The problem is that IV fluids are too cold
Okay?
in fibroids.
Tell us about the problem you are solving. What do you assume about the problem so far? Is it widespread?
We assume that it affects pretty much any hospital setting where patients are receiving pre-warmed IV fluids, so probably 99% of the IV bags that are administered.
Is it more common in certain clinical areas? Have you thought about that?
I've not thought about it yet, but that's definitely something to touch upon. All the places I've been assigned to have had this problem. I haven't seen many more than less.
So, maybe they pre-warm in chemotherapy, but they don't pre-warm in ER, for instance, something like that. Okay. Do you need help or additional members to help answer your questions?
Yes.
Quantify your problem. Who are they? You can't speak. Michael has to speak. Who do you think he needs?
I think that he needs additional individuals who are skilled in research, perhaps clinical research and this type of thing, and I don't know what we need. Perhaps an individual with business experience who can assist with the development of the idea plan, cost estimations, that kind of thing.
Let me ask a question. Who do you think's gonna? Oh, I can't ask that question. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. Never mind. I was wondering who was gonna buy your product. They have the problem. Okay. So, is there anybody in the room that's interested in working with? I'm sorry. Give me your name, Josh.
Josh.
Is there anybody who's interested in working with Josh long term at this point? You guys love this problem. All right. Josh, you're going to have to find team members elsewhere.
Will do.
Through
Love the
TeamMaker.
challenge.
All right. Great.
Good job.
Good job. And introduce yourself.
I'm Andy. So the problem over here is that we are trying to help people who are trying to live a healthier lifestyle. We're trying to make living a healthier lifestyle affordable to people who are trying to live that life and can't afford to.
Okay. So you guys kind of went macro all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
So who has this problem?
Well, 37% of Americans are obese or overweight.
Speak up a little bit.
37% of Americans are obese or overweight, so it's a big population out there. 37% of the U.S. population, a couple million people. So,
You think they like to be obese? Or they just don't know how to not be obese?
I would assume that they don't like being obese.
I'm just wondering, maybe there's a barrier to entry there. They like French fries more than they like working out,
The
right?
doctor probably makes a good word about it.
And does this team need additional help? Who do you think that they might need?
Maybe somebody who knows programs.
Who knows how to program?
Application.
All right.
Maybe a business student who can actually fix the product.
Okay.
That's about it.
Is there any other data that you need to have in order to quantify the problem a little better?
Definitely some surveys.
You could do some surveys. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Terrific. Thank you so much. So, is there anybody who wants to work on this long term? And whose problem is it? It's your problem. What is your name? Young. Young? All right. Is there anybody that wants to help Young who's here tonight? Okay. So, you got to find your team members, and you'll find them over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you.
What is your problem?
So the problem statement we have is when an emergency event occurs, we're specifically looking at things like active shooters on school campuses. Typically, the technology that exists today allows first responders, emergency personnel, evacuation personnel, etc., to step in, but it's after the fact. It's once the first gunshot has gone off, and typically by that time you already have injury or loss of life. What we're proposing is to take a look at the technology and shift the focus from reactive to being proactive and preventative. So we want to explore technology options that are going to allow us to trigger the alert before the first gunshot goes off or before the first knife gets thrown.
So the problem is too much loss of life due to first-person shooter scenarios. Yes?
The problem is really that the technology focuses on being reactive, and therefore there is time that elapses and typically results in loss of life. We're thinking if we can shift that to being a proactive and preventative approach, that the loss of life will typically be less.
Okay. So what other data might you seek out to further define that problem?
From a data perspective, we would look for big data and probably records from 911 types of things, just to understand frequencies, understand patterns of people calling. One of the things we discussed, for example, is when there's a panic situation, people eventually can get the dialing of 911, but then they're bladder incoherent. And the 911 responder doesn't know who they are, where they are, what's going on, how critical is the issue, does the shooter have 1 gun or 7 guns, does he have a bomb strapped to his chest? All that sort of information gets lost in translation. So if we can look at historical data, we can pinpoint a little better what those patterns are and figure out what would be an appropriate, proactive, preventative response for these different things.
So quantifying the problem might be 50% of the loss of life occurs within the first 15 minutes of the first shooter scenario, right? That might be a better quantification.
Yeah, that would be about a number, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now, so, yep, you kind of went what you assume and what you know. Do you need additional help?
Well, no, we do, yes, but.
Here's the secret, the answer is always yes.
Okay, the answer is yes. We have identified some additional resources that we need. For example, if we're looking at, some of the ideas we're talking about in terms of the solution would be some new technology development, so probably some sort of a programmer, developer type of person, probably some legal counsel, and we would need some resources that can connect us with 911 and other first responders and things like that. Having said that, the team appears to already have done some networking in that department, so we've identified a fair amount of those additional resources that we have.
Great, terrific. So is there anybody here tonight that wants to continue to work on this problem, that can move into that team? Oh, wow, you guys all want to work on your own thing. That's great, that means you have to develop your own teams, and I think there's a little bit on the TeamMaker site that will help you articulate what it is you need and find additional team members. Because a team of one is not good when you're going through an ideation problem. So I really recommend if you are a person with a problem and a single person with a problem, find at least one other person to help you work on your problem and your idea plan. Okay, because having 2 minds is always better than one. Okay, with that, I am actually going to hand it back over to Holly to talk a little bit about how you guys can better quantify your problems. And thanks very much for hanging out with me tonight, and let me have you move around the room. I appreciate it.
I'm just going to back up a little bit. So Nancy talked about the TeamMaker platform. How many of you are familiar with TeamMaker? A couple of you? So TeamMaker, is under our Data Challenge tab on the DifferenceMaker website. So you click that, you click Team Maker. There's a list of current projects, so those are all of the teams who actually applied to the Idea Challenge. It lists if they're open, it lists if they're closed. If they're open and you're looking for a team, look through all the open teams, see what skills they're looking for, and then you can actually contact those teams directly. And then if you're looking for other teams, there's people called seekers. So these seekers actually go online and they say what they're interested in, they say what their skill set is. We approve them and they go on the seeker list. So then teams, like you all, have ideas. You can actually go on the seeker list and say, hey, this person is a computer science major. Hey, this person has a research background. And maybe you want to contact those people and their information is right there online. So there's current projects and current seekers. So this is a very helpful website that we actually made because the need was there. So we saw the problem when the DifferenceMaker, talking about problems, we saw the problem when DifferenceMaker first launched, that teams had a hard time connecting and people had a hard time finding teams and vice versa. So we thought, hey, what can we do? So instead of a dating matching site, we made a team building matching site. So please feel free to use that. Okay, so talking a little bit more about the problem. I like using the microphone because I don't like yelling, but I also like moving around and it's attached. So bear with me. So third world countries lack technology and money to obtain clean water. Okay, so that's your initial problem. Dig a little deeper by doing your research. So you find out that 2.4 million deaths can be prevented each year if people had clean drinking water. So that shows the impact. And then this is the idea plan piece that Nancy brought up in the beginning. So this is what you're going to get to after the workshop series. So within these groups, you made assumptions, you think you know what the problem is, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that a little bit later. So what we want you to do is actually begin to test those assumptions. So from now until you submit your idea plan on February 29th, we want you to test those assumptions. We want you to talk to, we usually say 25, talk to at least 20 people. 20 plus people. Talk to them. I know you guys feel comfortable, I feel comfortable, everyone feels comfortable just sitting behind a computer, Googling things, looking at Wikipedia, looking at people's articles or research they did. Go out and talk to people. Focus groups, like Holly mentioned. Surveying people, coming up with questionnaires, and people will help you with that. But actually talking to the people that you think are affected by the problem. Because very often, what you think is the problem isn't the actual problem. And once again, I'm going to elaborate on that in a little bit. We also have the library databases. How many of you have used these? A few of you. Good, more than I would expect. Wow, that's crazy. That's good. So for those of you who haven't used them, we have library databases that show a lot of market research. IBIS World is one of my favorite ones. It shows market trends, it shows pricing, it shows competitors. So if you need help with any of those databases, Donna Mullen is the librarian and she can actually help you, and her contact information is up there. So please feel free to contact her or shoot DifferenceMaker an email. And we also have faculty fellows, so we have a faculty member, at least one or two in each college. So Professor Chen was here earlier and Professor Finch was here earlier. Professor Chen is from the College of Sciences and Professor Finch is from the business school. So if you contact us and say, hey, this is what I need help with this, we'll say, oh, you know, Professor Chen is in the Sciences College, let me link you up to him and he can help answer your questions or help link you to his students, and so on and so forth. So talking to them, very helpful, very, very helpful. Talking to your peers, so like we did today, I know some of you were kind of sitting there, maybe you wanted to talk about your idea, but talking about other people's ideas can also help you because you're brainstorming, you're helping them, they're helping you. In the process of defining that problem, you are going to have to do. So you can learn that way as well. And then using the DifferenceMaker resource page, which once again, under the Idea Challenge link, the resource tab, and we upload the video, so Hannah actually will get the video up online within 48 hours. We upload the PowerPoint, any of the materials we passed out today. So like I said, if you can't make it or if you want to review, please go on the resource page and tell your friends who can make it about that as well. So for next workshop, I know it's about a week away, So like I said, you're probably not going to be able to talk to 25 people in this week. But throughout this whole process, in order to fill out the toolkit and gather the data that the judges are looking for, you're going to have to talk to people. Making phone calls, talking to your peers, talking to faculty, figure out who your customers are, trying to talk to them. If some of you are nurses or work in clinics, maybe you can talk to doctors, maybe you can talk to nurses, and that way you can gather data. So a lot of times, people state their opinions and state their ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen. You need data, you need credible data to back that up. Opinions, everyone has an opinion, but you need to show that you've done research. You need to show that you've talked to people. You need to show that it's an actual problem and you're gonna solve it. And here's why it's a problem. Because 25 people, said this, this, and this. So it makes everything that you're saying much more credible if you have that data. And primary and secondary research is very important. So to help with this, talking to people, you can come up with questionnaires. 5, 10 questions. You can call people, email them to gather that data. I know in past years some students have used even Facebook, posting some questions on Facebook. I wouldn't highly recommend that because that's not necessarily your target market. So try to pick ways to actually target those people. So like I said, if you're in a clinic, go to work, ask some of the people you work with, hey, would you mind filling out this questionnaire? Go to a gym, if it's something about a gym, ask people who are lifting, hey, would you be interested in something like this? What problems do you have? So on and so forth. So talking to people like that is very, very helpful. So, like I said, this first sheet is just a tool for you to use to help you. So once you kind of gather this info, by the time you get to submitting the idea plan, you'll be able to take this information and basically put it into paragraph form and submit it. So a lot of these questions are very similar to what's asked on the idea plan. And the idea plan is right here. So you guys are already getting the template. You know exactly what they're going to be submitting on the 29th. And more information will be sent out about how to submit this. So everything's given right there, exactly what we're looking for, exactly what the judges are looking for. Any questions so far? All right, so workshop series, our next one is, I believe, it's a Tuesday, the 16th. It'll be in the makerspace as well. And then we have another one on the 23rd and the 25th. So like I said, we build kind of upon everything. So today you're focusing on the problem, clearly identifying your problem. Next, we're gonna focus on the opportunity. So who's affected by the problem? What opportunity is there in the marketplace? And then developing your business model and then actually delivering your pitch. The next two, Tom McDonald, who's actually the director of the Innovation Hub, will come and be a guest speaker, and then last one, Stephen Tello, who's the Associate Vice Chancellor of Innovation Entrepreneurship. And he actually does a rocket pitch for you guys, which is really fun. So I would recommend coming to that. How do you guys like this space? You guys like it for the workshop? Okay. We used to have our workshops in some of the classrooms upstairs, like kids in 309, the bigger classrooms. And they were good because they were bigger, you could move around the tables and chairs. But then we thought, well, people on South Campus, it's hard for them to come to North. So then the University Crossings building opened, and we booked room 158. And you kind of have to cross over University Crossings, go downstairs near UCAPS, and then go down a hall. So sometimes students have a hard time finding it. So then the makerspace opened, and we're like, this is perfect for those of you who want to build stuff. Here's a great place that you can utilize as a resource to actually build things. There's a wood shop, there's 3D printers, there's laser cutters. And some of you might have seen me talking to the guy in the back, John Mulligan. He's the manager of this place, or the director. So he can help you with that stuff. But we wanted to let you guys know, hey, this is open to you all. Some of you who are self-campus majors might not even know that this opened. It's still fairly new. So I'm glad you guys like it. Because the noise and, I didn't know. But if you guys like it, that's awesome. I'm glad that you like it. All right, so idea challenge dates. Have all of you guys submitted an application? So has anyone not submitted an application? Okay, good. So like I've mentioned, and I keep mentioning, the 29th is when the idea plan and the rocket pitch is due. And like I said, we'll email more information about that to you. And then, so the process is, after you submit those plans, the idea plans are sent out to people we call readers. So they're people in our network, alumni, people who are familiar with DifferenceMaker, people who have worked with us before, some of our staff, our faculty fellows, so on. So we utilize a group of people that we call readers to actually read and score the plans. And we have 3 people score each plan. So it's not like one person scores it and thinks it's a 1. You know what I mean? So we have multiple people who score them. Then us DifferenceMaker staff sit down and go through all of the scores, and we kind of see if there's any deviations, or why did this person not score so well, and this one scored them well, and so on. And then we pick the semifinalists that way. So usually there's 20 to 30 semifinalists. So if you're a semifinalist, you'll be notified, I think it's on March 8th. And then you have the chance to revise your idea plan and revise your pitch for the preliminaries, which is on April 1st. April 1st, you'll come, you'll pitch, and then there's usually 8 to 10 teams that then get chosen to go on to the finals, which is going to be on April 13th this year. Any questions about the process? Okay. And then Nancy also had mentioned the categories. So those are categories we used last year, but usually how we do it is we get all of the semifinalist ideas, so the ones that we'll be pitching at the preliminary pitch-off, and we see usually there's correlations between ideas. So maybe it's around health, which would be the gym, and healthy eating, and so on. Maybe it's about safety, so it would be the lack of security, and maybe gun regulation. So usually there's a big sorry, see, I like to move and talk with my hands, so this just does not work for me. So there's usually themes or categories that a lot of the idea plans fit under. So depending on that is how we make our categories. They usually stay somewhat the same. They'll change a little bit depending on the ideas, but don't feel like you have to fit into one of those categories because you most likely will anyways. So when we read it, we're like, okay, that's definitely kind of more of a product. Okay, that's definitely something health-wise. So don't be worried, oh no, I don't fit into any of those categories. I don't want that on your mind. So just focus on doing the research, submitting a good idea plan. All right, any questions about that? So this is our 4th idea challenge, yeah. So through this process, we surveyed the judges after. So the judges are alumni who are interested in helping you guys, interested in being a part of the procedure. And each year we survey them saying, what could we do better? What do you want the teams to present more of? So we asked them a bunch of questions. And every single year, the judges say, we want more data. We want solid research. Because a lot of the times teams get up there and, well, I think our target market is 1 billion people. No, you can't, I think, in 1 billion people, that's not your target market. You need to be specific. So just remember that. So like I said, talking to people, even if you talk to 15 people, if you show data that you talk to 15 people, that's going to impress the judges. Because a lot of times students Google, they would do media stuff. So definitely showing that research and data. The other thing is, which we'll talk about this more too, so I don't want to kind of overwhelm you guys, understanding what it's going to take to implement your solution. So let's say you want to build an environment where people can live on Mars. Okay, the chance of that happening anytime soon is very slim. I mean, I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm just saying if you get up there and pitch that, and you don't say or show what it's going to take to actually make that happen, the judges probably won't take it as seriously as someone who says, you know, people in Haiti are dying because they're drinking dirty water. We need to implement something to help these people. Here's the amount of people. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the amount of money it's going to take. And here's how we're going to implement it. And here's how we're going to make it last over time. Then that's like, oh, okay, they've thought about it. They kind of know their plan. So throughout this process, once again, that's what the toolkit's for, helping you think about that. So building a story, understanding how that's going to work. Yep, so cover that stuff. Once again, faculty fellows, they're also online. So they have emails if you want to find them directly, or like I said, you can submit an email and I can certainly connect you with them. So John Brown's in the School of Education, John Morgan Bush, Fine Arts, Humanities, Social Sciences, Guanling Chen, who I mentioned, College of Sciences, Deb Finch, who I mentioned, Manning School of Business, Steve Johnston, College of Engineering, so he actually knows how to use this equipment. He's helped with the makerspace, so if you're interested in that, he's in plastics engineering. Ralph Jordan, who's also in Manning School of Business, and then Not Karan, who's in the School of Health. So like I mentioned, if you have a health idea, talk to Anat, see what she thinks. If you have some type of idea where you're building an app or some type of website, maybe go talk to Guanling Chen and see what he has to say. So these people are here to help you. And if you can't get in touch with them or you want me to introduce you, let me know. I will be happy to do that. So just a little recap. So what do we want you to do next? So like I said, the next workshop's in 5 days, so it doesn't give you a ton of time, but start clearly defining your problem. Figure out who you're going to talk to. Figure out what questions you want to ask them. So very often you'll hear us say customer pain. Does anyone know what customer pain is? Do you know? You kind of went through this.
Well, yeah, it's something that the person is really struggling with, and,
Yes.
and that they potentially paying money to fix.
Yes. So a customer's pain. So in this case, the IV. So the customer, well, the other thing is there's customers and there's users. So that's kind of different too. So if you're building a product to sell to hospitals, they're your customer. The patient is the user. But we'll talk about that more in the other workshops too. But just to get to my point, which I forgot what customer pains. So maybe the customer's pain is that it's cold, they feel uncomfortable. So if you came up with a device or something to help those people, it's filling that pain. So it's making that pain go away. So would they be willing to pay for something, like Holly mentioned, that will help that pain, that will fill that gap? So when we say customer pain, think of it that way. So when you go to a store or something and something annoys you, that's what we call customer pain. So what's the real customer pain that you're trying to solve? Questions about that? And by talking to your customers, or people that you think are your customers, will help you with that. And sometimes you talk to 10 people and you figure out, oh, those aren't my customers, and you gotta figure out again. So there's a lot of kind of trial and error. So don't be discouraged if you talk to people and they're not giving you the answers that you want, because those are the answers you want. You don't want people to say, yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, awesome solution, go for it. You want people to say, nope, that does not affect me at all, but this affects me. And you can say, oh, okay, so maybe this isn't the problem, maybe it's this, since everyone's telling me that. And like I said, the research and talking to people, that's what you'll be able to find. And this is Professor John Brown. We just introduced the fellows.
Oh, hi guys.
So he's in the Graduate School of Education. So this is our contact info. I do have another PowerPoint on here. It's not, I think you guys will. So email, website, Twitter, we have Instagram, we have a blog. So after each event, Casey actually writes a blog on the event. So if you miss an event, you want to read about it or send it to your friends, kind of what happened, visit our blog, and then we have our Facebook. So updates on events, updates on deadlines, what's going on, and so on. So I'm just going to quickly, grab our pizza if you want, I'm just going to quickly pop this one. So as Nancy was going through the activity, I was just thinking of other things that could help you guys out. And actually this winter break, I went to India and I actually taught a class as part of the exchange program. And through the class, I actually did a lot of DifferenceMaker activities and talking about defining your problem and figuring out your opportunity and solution and finding your resources. So going through this, there was a couple of things. So when you're trying to figure out what your problem is, analyze the marketplace. So like we mentioned, talking to people, so talking to employees, listening to your customers, analyzing the marketplace, doing research, looking at the environment around you, talking to the people around you. And also be aware of a problem that exists before trying to solve it. So a lot of times people, students, everyone, they come up with a solution before a problem. But you don't really know what your solution is until you have a clearly defined problem. You may be solving something that no one wants. So what's the point? So if you have a problem, you know it's a pain, you talk to people, you've done your research, then you can go ahead and figure out a solution to fill that pain. So ensure that you're working on the real problem. So I know Nancy was pushing a few of you guys. So you're not just addressing a piece of the problem. So you want to really figure out what that problem is. So this is the one that I wanted to talk about with me. So I got this from one of the textbooks we used in one of our classes, and it's coming up with the root cause of a problem. So the 5 whys. So when you think you figure out your problem, ask yourself why. And then when you think you figure out the problem, ask yourself why again. And do that 5 times and see what you come up with. So this is an example, problem statement. The wrong item was shipped to the customer. That sounds like a problem, right? You might say, oh, there it is. We got to do this, this, and this, and this to solve it. Right? It's probably what you would assume. But then when you say, well, why was the wrong item shipped to a customer? Now you dig a little deeper. You say the wrong item was pulled from inventory. Okay, that's a problem, let's fix it. Well, it might not be the real problem, so ask yourself why again. So why was the wrong item pulled from inventory? The wrong item was pulled from inventory because it was mislabeled. Well, if it's mislabeled, why is it being mislabeled? It's being mislabeled because the supplier mislabeled the item prior to shipping it to our warehouse. So now it's not even your problem, it's the warehouse's problem who's shipping you these things. So initially, saying the wrong item was shipped, was pulled from inventory, you're probably thinking this is our problem, something within our process. But then you keep asking yourself why, and you figure out, okay, the warehouse actually shipped us this, the wrong, or labeled the wrong product, the mislabeled item. So why was it mislabeled? The individual applying labels to the product at the supplier placed the wrong label on the product. So is it that person? Do they need to be fired? Is it a bad process? So what's going on? Why is that person mislabeling the products? So then they figure out labels from different orders are pre-printed and it's very easy to apply the wrong label. So starting from the wrong item was shipped to a customer, all the way to labels, labels are easily, they apply them wrong often. So going from what you originally thought was the problem, asking the 5 whys to what the root cause of the problem is, your solution is going to be completely different. So if you started with that first problem and you tried to work on a solution, you would waste your time and you would waste your money. Because soon you figure out, oh, it's not even us, it's the warehouse. Oh, it's not even them, it's the process of printing and pasting the labels on. So just keep that in mind. So ask yourself the 5 whys. So Nancy had you guys in groups, try to figure out, kind of define your problem. So this is a tool to help you guys define your problem. And then like we mentioned, a problem that matters to you, something social. So if you're working on a problem that you're just doing because you think you're going to make a lot of money or something like that, it's a waste of time. Being an entrepreneur and actually trying to implement these solutions is hard work and it's time consuming. So if you have passion behind it and you want to do it for yourself, you want to do it for the better of others, everything else will fall into place. So I would urge you to follow something that is a problem that's not just to you, but obviously to others, and something that you're passionate about solving. I don't think we have sound capabilities, but I'm going to try this video. Is anyone familiar with TED Talks? A few of you? So TED Talks, they're fun, ideas worth sharing. So a lot of different experts and people they do TED Talks around the world on different topic. So this one is really good, but if there's no sound, I urge you guys to watch it at some point when you get home, just right on YouTube. Yeah, the sound's not set up. But this one's called a bath without water. So I like to show this one a lot because he starts off with a problem. From the problem, he figures out what the real problem is. From that, he finds out what the opportunity is. From figuring out the opportunity, he saw that there was another opportunity. He successfully implemented the solution. He helped a ton of people. So I urge you to watch it, A Bath Without Water. So he basically ended up making a dry bath, which is basically like foam in a little tube that you put on yourself. And in other countries, a lot of people die and become blind just because they don't have access to clean water to bathe. So it's an awesome video. It's about 5 minutes. So I urge you to watch that. Are there any questions? Did anyone not get to share an idea and wanted to? Those of you who did share your ideas, anyone want to share your idea? No? Alright, so if you want to stay here, work on your toolkits, work in groups, talk to people, I'll be here, so feel free to do that. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys all on the 16th. And like I said, Tom O'Donnell will be there, and we'll talk a lot about the opportunity that's associated with your problem. And the opportunity piece is really big because that's what the judges want to see. So they want to see that you research that there's an opportunity associated with your problem, that people are affected by it, you know how many people are affected by it, that you talk to people. So if you can't make it, everything will be online, but I urge you to go there if you can. Any other questions? All right, thank you guys for coming. Have a good night.